You're reviewing design blueprints at your office in Portland, the rain hammering against the windows like a relentless drumbeat. The room smells faintly of ink, coffee, and exhaustion. You've been at your desk for hours when your phone lights up. Isabella, your daughter. 9:03 p.m. She never calls this late. You answer, already sensing that something inside you is about to break. Mom. Her voice cracks through the speaker, trembling, small, broken. Mom, I need help. You push back your chair so hard it scrapes the floor. What happened? Where are you? Her breath comes in gasps. I'm outside Grandma's house. My key doesn't work anymore. I've been standing here for hours. It's raining, Mom. She opened the door, but she wouldn't let me in. For a second, you forget how to breathe. What do you mean she wouldn't let you in? That's your home. She said I don't live here anymore. She changed the locks. She said she's done enabling me. Her sobs shatter your composure. She told me to grow up. She turned off the porch light. I'm sitting in my car now, soaked. I don't know where to go. You grab your keys without thinking. Stay right there. I'm coming. Outside, the storm rages like it's conspiring with fate. You drive through blackened streets, the wipers fighting to clear the windshield, the radio silent except for your pounding heart. 20 minutes later, you spot Isabella's car parked under a dying streetlight. The windows are fogged. Inside, your daughter is curled up, shivering, drenched to the bone. Her sweatshirt sticks to her skin, her hair dripping, her face pale from the cold. You open her door, and she looks up, eyes swollen, lips trembling. Get in my car, you whisper. You're not spending another second here. She follows without a word. The moment the heater starts, her teeth chatter uncontrollably. Tell me what happened, you say softly. I came home from my study group. Grandma just stared at me like I was a stranger. She said I was lazy, that I didn't respect her rules. I don't know what I did wrong, Mom. I paid rent. I did chores. I tried so hard. You tighten your grip on the steering wheel. The words slice deep because they're echoes. You've heard them before, from the same woman. She said I was just like you, Isabella whispers, tears pooling again. That you were selfish. That I'd end up like you if she didn't teach me a lesson. The past slams into you like a car crash. You remember standing in the same rain 20 years ago, pregnant, terrified, with no one to take you in. Your mother had told you then, you've made your bed, lie in it, and now she's done it to your daughter. That night, Isabella sleeps on your couch wrapped in every blanket you own. You sit on the edge of the sofa, watching her chest rise and fall. The rain outside turns to mist, soft but unrelenting like the ache in your chest. You whisper to yourself, she's not doing this again. Not to you, not to her. You barely sleep. At dawn you call your mother. She answers on the fourth ring, her voice clipped and calm, like she's been waiting for this. I suppose she ran crying to you, she says. You left her in the rain. Your voice shakes from fury. She's your granddaughter. She needed to learn consequences. I won't tolerate disrespect. She's a college student, Mom. She works part-time and studies full-time. You don't punish someone for being tired. My house. My rules. Her tone hardens. You of all people should understand that. Your throat burns. You're unbelievable. She exhales sharply. You've always been dramatic, Nora. You were a disappointment. And now your daughter is too. I tried to save her from becoming you, but clearly it's too late. The line goes dead. Your hand trembles. Phone pressed to your chest. For years you've ignored her cruelty, convinced yourself that family means forgiveness. But tonight, something inside you shifts. Something cold and steady takes root. You stare at your reflection in the rain-streaked window, and you swear you see a different woman looking back. The one who's done being hurt. The one who's ready to make her mother finally face the pain she's inflicted on others. You whisper to yourself, almost like a vow. She made her own rules. Now she'll live by mine. You wake up before sunrise, the silence in your apartment broken only by the slow rhythm of Isabella's breathing from the couch. She looks so small, so fragile under the blankets, yet the bruise in your heart is anything but. Your own mother locked her out in the rain. You brew coffee you don't taste, staring at the steam curling into the pale morning light. Every memory of your mother resurfaces, the cold glances, the cutting words, the way she always needed to be right, always needed you beneath her heel to feel powerful. She told you once that kindness is weakness. You used to believe her. Not anymore. When Isabella wakes, her voice is barely a whisper. Mom, I'm sorry I ruined everything. You kneel beside her, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. Sweetheart, you didn't ruin anything. She did. But she said I was ungrateful, that I don't appreciate what she's done for us. You inhale deeply, fighting the familiar sting of guilt. Your grandmother's love always came with conditions. She only gives when she can take something back. Isabella nods but doesn't speak. You recognize that silence, it's the same silence you lived in for half your life. The silence of a daughter who's learned that love can be used as a weapon. That day, you let her rest while you go to work at the design firm, but the drawings blur on the screen. Every angle and line morphs into your mother's sharp voice. Ungrateful, irresponsible, weak. At noon, you close your laptop and dial her number. It rings 4 times. Then that familiar, chilling calm. I figured you'd call again, she says. You keep your voice steady. You left your granddaughter standing in a storm. She paid rent. She followed your rules. You had no right. I had every right, she snaps. It's my house, my rules. And if your jaw tightens. You think power means control. But it doesn't. Power is how you treat people who have none. A sharp laugh echoes through the line. Spare me the lecture, Nora. You've always pretended to be better than me, but look at you still single, still struggling. If I hadn't helped you years ago, you'd be nothing. Maybe, you say quietly. But at least I never threw my child into the rain to prove a point. The line goes silent. Then a cold click. She hangs up. You sit there, phone in your lap, heart racing, but instead of pain, there's clarity. For years you tried to win her approval, but now you see it for what it was, a leash. You won't wear it anymore. 3 days later, you drive to her house to collect Isabella's things. She's not home. The blinds are closed, but the front door is unlocked. You step inside, and it hits you the scent of her perfume, the rigid order of everything in its place, like a shrine to her control. You walk past the dining table where she once lectured you about discipline, past the hallway where you once cried silently after being called a mistake. Isabella's room is bare, stripped down to emptiness. You pack what's left of her clothes and books, your movements mechanical, precise, surgical. As you carry the boxes to your car, a neighbor misses. Callahan, an older woman with kind eyes, waves softly. Your mother told me Isabella moved out, she says. I thought it was odd. She seemed proud of it. You force a polite smile. Yes, my mother likes to rewrite stories where she's the hero. Mrs. Callahan lowers her voice. She's been different lately. Stressed. I think she's having money trouble. You pause mid-step. Money trouble? She mentioned bills, things piling up. I even saw her checking mail like she was expecting bad news. Oh man, a chill crawls down your spine. Of course. Your mother's pride wouldn't let her admit weakness. She'd rather drown quietly than ask for help. That night, you tell Isabella. She sits up, eyes wide. She's selling the house, isn't she? You don't answer. You don't have to. Because in that moment, an idea sparks, dangerous, beautiful, and cold. A plan that tastes like justice. You start digging quietly. Property records, mortgage statements, credit reports, all public if you know where to look. And what you find shocks you. She's drowning in debt. The house she bragged about owning outright? There's a second mortgage. Credit cards maxed. A lifetime of control financed by lies. For years, she made you and Isabella feel small. Now, you see the truth. She's the one built on sand. As you stare at the screen, you whisper, poetic, isn't it? She wanted control so badly, and now she's losing everything. That night, you call your colleague Trevor, a real estate consultant. If someone wanted to buy a property quietly, through an LLC, could it be done? He laughs. Sure. Why? You look out the window at the Portland skyline glittering in the rain. Let's just say, I'm buying a house for personal reasons. Ugh. Isabella notices the shift in you. At dinner, she studies your face, wary. Mom, what are you planning? You smile faintly. A lesson. One your grandmother never learned. She frowns. Are you sure this isn't revenge? Revenge? You whisper. No, sweetheart. This is balance. She looks unconvinced. You reach across the table and hold her hand. You've suffered enough. I'll make sure she never hurts you again. And when you go to bed that night, for the first time in years, you don't dream of storms. You dream of justice. 3 days later, you're sitting at a corner table in a downtown cafe. The rain has stopped, but the city still glistens silver streets, neon lights reflected in puddles, the smell of wet pavement thick in the air. Across from you, Trevor scrolls through his phone. "So Nora," he says casually, "what's the address again?" You slide a napkin across the table. He types it in, then his brows lift. "Wait. This house just hit the market 2 days ago. Saguaro Drive. 3-bedroom colonial-style nice neighborhood. Listed for $680 kelvins. You're interested?" You sip your black coffee, pulse steady but mind burning. "Yes, I need to buy it." Quietly. Trevor studies you. "That's your mother's house, isn't it?" You meet his gaze. Not for long. He leans back, a slow grin spreading across his face. "You're serious." "And I'm done being the one she destroys," you say. "She taught me that power means control, so I'm going to take control back legally, beautifully, and completely." Trevor whistles softly. "All right then. We'll set up an LLC. No names, no trails, just business." 2 days later, you meet Vanessa, the real estate agent. She's sharp, efficient, and doesn't ask questions. You like her instantly. "The LLC will make the offer," she explains, flipping through paperwork. "Fair market price, quick, close, cash, ready. She'll bite if she's desperate." "She is," you murmur. "Trust me." Vanessa gives you a curious look. "Can I ask, why the secrecy?" You smile thinly. "Because the seller doesn't deserve to know who's saving her from herself." That night, you sit on your bed, surrounded by contracts and your laptop. Isabella watches from the doorway, her hair tied in a messy bun, eyes tired but curious. "Mom, are you really doing this?" You nod without hesitation. "Yes." "You're buying Grandma's house?" "Yes." "Why?" You glance at the rain-streaked window, the city lights blurring into color. "Because she thinks she owns everything. People, loyalty, love. She's wrong. The moment she sold that house, she sold her illusion of power." Isabella frowns. "That's cold." "It's justice." She hesitates. "And what happens when she finds out?" You close the laptop. "Then she'll finally understand what it feels like to be powerless." For a long time, Isabella says nothing. Then she whispers. "She once said you were too emotional, but right now you scare me a little." You meet her gaze, steady. "Good. Because emotion without strength is surrender, and I'm done surrendering." End of Tenny. The offer goes out that night through Northbridge LLC, the name Trevor helped you choose. Clean, professional, untraceable. You don't sleep. You sit by the window, fingers drumming on your coffee mug, waiting for morning like a hunter waiting for the first movement in the brush. By noon, Vanessa calls. She accepted. You exhale slow, controlled, victorious. She's thrilled, Vanessa adds. Wants to close fast. She said she needs the funds urgently. Of course she does. For years, she pretended to be untouchable, but you always knew everything about her power was a mask held together by debt and arrogance. Now, you own her mask. You drive past the house a few days later, just to look. It's quiet, sitting under a halo of golden sunset light. Your mother's car isn't there, but the porch light glows like an echo of that night she locked Isabella out like a wound that refuses to heal. For a moment you feel something, almost guilt. Then you remember your daughter, drenched in rain, shaking from cold and heartbreak. The guilt dissolves. You whisper, "No one leaves my child out in the dark," and walks away clean. 3 weeks later, the deal closes. Vanessa sends the email with a single line. "Congratulations, the house is yours." You stare at those words until they blur. You thought you'd feel triumph, but what you feel is quiet. Quiet and powerful. You own your mother's house. Every brick, every wall that once held her rules now belongs to you. You pour yourself a glass of wine, step out onto your balcony, and smile faintly. For the first time in decades, you're not the one reacting. You're the one deciding. Isabella joins you, wrapping a blanket over her shoulders. "So it's done?" "It's done." She exhales. "So what now?" You look out over the city lights. "Now, we wait." For what? For her to realize she sold her throne to the very woman she tried to destroy. The next morning, you receive a text from a blocked number. "Mother, exciting news. Finally sold the house. Moving to a condo. Freedom at last." You laugh out loud. The irony burns sweet on your tongue. Freedom, yes, just not hers. But you don't reply. You let her believe she's in control for a little longer. Because the sweetest revenge isn't instant, it's delayed until the lesson cuts deep. And you intend to make sure this lesson scars. That night, as you close your eyes, a single thought drifts through your mind like a whisper of thunder before the storm. She left your daughter in the rain. Now you'll make her drown in her own pride. You don't go to the closing in person. You sit in a quiet cafe near the courthouse, watching raindrops slide down the window as Vanessa's text comes through at exactly 2:17 p.m. Closed. The house is officially yours. You stare at the words, pulse steady, mind still. For 28 years, that house was her fortress, every inch of it echoing her control, every wall steeped in her voice. My house, my rules. Now, those walls belong to you. You imagine her sitting across the table from Vanessa, signing the papers, smiling as if she's winning. She has no idea she's signing away her throne to her own daughter. It's poetic, really. The kind of justice that doesn't need to scream to be heard. That night, you and Isabella eat takeout noodles in silence. She's scrolling on her phone when she gasps. Mom, look. On the screen is your mother's social media post, a picture of her house glowing in the golden light of sunset, captioned, "A new chapter begins. Sometimes you have to let go to move forward." You can't help but smile. She always rewrites the story to make herself the hero. Isabella laughs bitterly. She makes it sound like she chose this. She's always chosen her version of reality, you say quietly. But the truth doesn't need her permission. You sip your tea and let the silence stretch. You know her patterns too well. She'll move into her condo, brag about her freedom, and then the regret will come, like mold under the wallpaper. When it does, you'll be waiting. A week later, you drive to the house for the first time as its owner. The air smells like citrus and dust. A for sale sign still leans against the mailbox, half fallen. You pick it up, snap it in half, and toss it into the trash. You unlock the door. Your key turns smoothly. The sound feels sacred. Inside, the house is hauntingly familiar. The same beige walls, the same photos of family she pretended to love, the same silence that once made you feel small. You walk slowly, your heels echoing on the hardwood. Every step feels like reclaiming a piece of yourself she once tried to erase. In the living room, sunlight slants through the blinds, landing on the spot where she once told you, "You'll never be good enough on your own." You whisper back into the emptiness, "Watch me." You spend the next week restoring what she neglected. You hire contractors, fix the leaking roof, replace the cracked windows, paint over the dull beige with soft ivory and light oak warmth she never allowed. You stand outside one evening, watching the house glow under the porch lights. It doesn't feel like hers anymore. It feels alive, free. Like you. Trevor calls to check in. "Everything done?" "Yes," you say, smiling faintly. "Better than before." "So what now? Sell it? Rent it?" "Not yet. The house has one more purpose left." He laughs softly. "You're planning something, aren't you?" You smile without answering. Because yes, you are. 2 mornings later, your phone rings. The caller ID reads, "Mom." You almost don't answer. But curiosity wins. "Nora," she begins, her tone bright and brittle. "I wanted to let you know I've settled into my condo. It's small but cozy. I'm finally free of all that maintenance." You can hear it, the forced confidence, the undertone of regret. "That's nice," you say evenly. "I'm glad you're adjusting." "Adjusting? Oh, please, I'm thriving." There's a pause, the one she always uses to bait you into proving yourself. "You know, you could learn something from me. How to let go. How to move on from the past." You laugh softly. "Maybe I already have." "Well, good for you." Her voice stiffens. "Anyway, I expect you and Isabella will apologize for that little drama soon. Families shouldn't hold grudges." Your knuckles whiten around the phone. "Apologize? For what? For you throwing her into a storm?" Her sigh crackles through the line. "You're still dramatic. That girl needed consequences. You coddled her, just like you've always refused to learn discipline yourself." You smile coldly. "Funny thing about consequences, Mom. They always find their way home." "What's that supposed to mean?" "You'll find out soon enough." You hang up before she can reply. That night, you stand on the porch of the house. Your house now looking out into the quiet street. The same porch where your daughter once begged to be let in. The same door that had been slammed shut in her face. You trace your fingers over the frame, whispering like a promise. She'll never have the chance to lock another door again. 3 days later, your mother calls again. You ignore it. The next day, she calls Vanessa, your agent. You find out through Vanessa's voicemail, almost amused. She said she wanted to check in on the new owners, Vanessa tells you, chuckling. She asked if they seemed like respectable people. I told her the LLC was very professional. Good, you say, smiling to yourself. Let her sleep peacefully a little longer. But when you hang up, something in you flickers a tiny pulse of guilt. You silence it immediately. Because guilt is for those who don't remember standing in the rain. You remember. Every second of it. Every sob that came from your daughter's throat, echoing through the storm. This isn't revenge, you tell yourself again. This is balance. And sometimes, balance takes blood. You're having breakfast on your apartment balcony when your phone rings. Unknown number. You almost ignore it until you hear her voice. Nora. You freeze for a second. Then you answer. Mother. Her tone is sharp, trembling. What the hell have you done? You lean back in your chair, letting the morning sun spill across your face. You'll have to be more specific. Don't play dumb with me, she shouts. I just found out who bought my house. You stay silent, letting her words hang heavy in the air. You bought it, she hisses. Through some company, Northbridge LLC. I called the property manager and they told me. It's you. You bought my house. You take a slow sip of coffee. Correction. I bought a house. The fact that you used to live in it is a coincidence. Nora, how could you do something so cruel? That house was my life. You laugh softly, the sound bitter and low. You mean the same house you threw your granddaughter out of? The same one where you told me I'd never be enough? That's different, she snaps. She disrespected me. She was 20, you interrupt, voice cold. And she was wet, hungry, and scared. You locked her out in the rain, Mom. Now you're just locked out of your own story. There's a pause, a shaky inhale. You wanted to teach her a lesson. Remember? Consequences? Her voice cracks. You're using my words against me. No, Mom, you whisper. I'm just making sure they finally mean something. You can hear her breathing quicken. For the first time in your life, she sounds small. Nora, please. I need that house. The condo isn't working out. The HOA fees are ridiculous. And the walls are thin. I can't sleep. I can't breathe in there. So sell it, you say flatly. I can't. The market's bad. I need the house back. I'll buy it from you. You let the silence drag. Then, calmly, no. Her voice trembles. No? You can't just say no, I'm your mother. You're the woman who taught me love comes with conditions. So here's mine, you can rent it. $1,800 a month. I can't afford that. Then you'll have to find somewhere else to live. She gasps. This is cruel. No, Mom, you whisper. This is justice. You taught me that actions have consequences. I'm just living by your rules. For a long time, there's only the sound of her quiet sobbing through the phone. Then barely audible. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done what I did to Isabella. Please, Nora, I'm begging you. You close your eyes. For a fleeting moment, a memory slips through, her hands guiding yours as you learn to write your name, her voice humming lullabies you barely remember. But then another memory replaces it, the sound of Isabella crying in her car, rain pounding against the glass, whispering, "She wouldn't let me in." You steel your heart. Begging doesn't suit you, Mom. Nora, please. I hope someday you understand how it feels to be powerless, because that's what you made us feel for years. Ugh. Don't hang up, she screams. Don't you dare. You end the call. The silence afterward feels sacred. Heavy. Final. Isabella walks into the kitchen, still in her pajamas. Was that her? Yes. What did she say? She begged. Your daughter's eyes widen. And you? I said no. Isabella hesitates. Do you feel better? You stare at the phone. Not better. Just done. She nods slowly, understanding. She's going to hate you for this. Oh. You let out a quiet laugh. She's hated me my whole life. This time, she'll just have to do it from somewhere she can afford. That night, your mother's calls don't stop. You block her number. Then she calls from another phone. And another. You ignore them all. But the messages keep coming. Voicemails filled with sobs, apologies tangled with accusations. 1 minute she's crying, the next she's furious. Then she's begging again. You listen to none of them. You've learned something powerful. Silence is the cruelest reply. A week later, you're standing outside your house. The repairs are done. The paint gleams. The porch is warm under the evening light. For a moment, you imagine her there again, standing in the doorway, chin high, voice sharp, the queen of control. But that woman doesn't exist anymore. You took her castle brick by brick and rebuilt it into something new, something she can't touch. And standing there, you finally feel what she never let you have: peace. Then your phone buzzes a new voicemail. You press play. Her voice is ragged, broken. You think you've won, Nora, but this will destroy you. You'll wake up one day and realize you've become me. You stare at the house. The lights glow softly inside, reflected in your eyes. For the first time, you don't feel fear. You feel certainty. You whisper to the wind, "No, I've become what you should have been, someone who fights back." You delete the message. Then you turn off your phone completely. It's late afternoon when you hear it 3 soft knocks. Slow, hesitant, the kind of sound that carries both pride and desperation. You know that rhythm. You've heard it your entire life, every time she came to your room after a fight, pretending not to apologize, just to talk. You freeze. Then you walk to the door. Through the peephole, you see her, your mother, standing in the hallway, small against the light, clutching her purse like it's armor. Her once polished hair is unkempt, her makeup faded. She looks smaller. You open the door halfway. "What do you want?" "Nora," she says softly. Her voice trembles. "Can I come in?" You shake your head. "No. Say whatever you need to say from there." Her throat tightens. "I'm not here to fight." "That's good," you say quietly, "because you already lost." She exhales shakily. "I came to tell you, you win." You blink, unsure if you heard her right. "You've made your point," she says. "I understand now what you wanted me to feel. What it's like to lose everything. What it's like to be shut out." Her eyes glisten. "You wanted me to feel what I did to Isabella." "Well, I do. I feel it every night in that condo. The walls are too thin, the air too cold, and the silence." Her voice cracks. "The silence feels like your silence, Nora, like punishment." You stand still. Your heart beats heavy but steady. "You haven't lost everything," you say flatly. "You have a home. You have income. You're not starving." "I've lost my family," she whispers, "and that's worse than hunger." You cross your arms. "You threw us away first." "I know." She nods slowly. "I know I did. I thought control was love. I thought if I made everyone obey, they'd never leave me. But all I did was push everyone away. Your father, your aunt, you, Isabella." You can hear the sincerity, buried beneath decades of arrogance. But you've heard her apologize before, always just enough to get back in. You won't fall for it again. "Why are you really here?" you ask. Her eyes drop. "Because I can't live like this anymore. I'm tired. I'm lonely." Her voice cracks again. "I miss you, Nora. I miss my granddaughter. I miss my family. Please, let's stop this. Please." You study her face. The wrinkles you once feared now look fragile. The woman who made you feel small all your life stands before you diminished, broken by her own consequences. For a moment, pity stirs in you like a flicker of wind. Then you remember Isabella's tears, her voice trembling through the storm. "She wouldn't let me in." And you harden again. "You're not sorry for what you did," you say. "You're sorry because you lost control." Her eyes widen. "That's not true." "Yes, it is. You've apologized before, Mom, but it was always temporary until you felt strong again. Then you'd start over, like our pain never mattered." Tears spill down her cheeks. "I'm not that person anymore." "Then prove it." She looks confused. "How?" You take a deep breath. "By learning to live without control, by accepting that this time you don't get to fix it, you don't get to rewrite it." She stares at you, trembling. "And what if I can't?" You meet her eyes calm, unblinking. "Then you'll finally understand me." She takes a shaky step forward. "Nora, please, don't do this. I'm begging you. Just one more chance." The words echo like thunder. "I'm begging you." The same words Isabella cried into the phone that night in the rain. You feel something twist in your chest, sharp, final. You shake your head. "No, Mom. You had every chance. You used everyone to hurt someone else." Her face crumples. "So that's it? You're cutting me off forever? You pause. No. I'm just giving you what you gave us, silence. She opens her mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. Her lips tremble. Her eyes glisten like shattered glass. And then, slowly, she nods a gesture not of understanding but surrender. The first you've ever seen from her. She turns to leave, shoulders slumped, steps heavy. For the first time, you don't feel rage. You feel release. When the door closes, Isabella steps out from the hallway, her eyes wide. That was her, wasn't it? You nod. What did she say? That she finally understands what it means to lose everything. And what did you say? You look toward the door, the air still carrying the faint scent of your mother's perfume, fading like an old memory. I said nothing, you whisper. Sometimes silence speaks louder than revenge. Isabella looks at you, the woman she once thought was unbreakable, now calm in her vengeance. She nods slowly. You did it, Mom. You broke the cycle. You take her hand. No, you say softly. We did. That night, you stand by your apartment window, watching the city lights flicker. You think of your mother alone in her condo, replaying every word, every silence. You don't hate her anymore, because hating her means she still owns a piece of you. Now, you're free. You and your daughter, the two women she tried to break, have rebuilt yourselves out of her ruins. And as you turn away from the window, you whisper to the night, she taught me what power means. I just rewrote the definition. 3 months pass. The city shifts from spring rain to summer heat, but the silence from your mother remains constant, a heavy quiet that hums like guilt in the background of your days. Then, one morning, as you open your mailbox, you see it, a white envelope, your name written in her handwriting, neat, deliberate, familiar enough to make your chest ache. You hesitate before touching it, like it's something that could still burn. Inside, the paper smells faintly of lilac, her perfume. The letter begins simply, Nora, if you're reading this, I've already left Portland. Your breath catches. I'm not running away, she writes. I'm just tired of being a ghost in your story. You were right, I spent my whole life trying to control everyone because it was easier than controlling my own fear. I hurt you because you reminded me of everything I failed to be. Strong, independent, brave. You pause, the words blurring for a second. For once, her handwriting doesn't look sharp. It trembles, like even the pen could feel her regret. When I made Isabella stand in that rain, I wasn't punishing her. I was punishing myself. I saw the same defiance in her eyes that I once saw in yours, the kind that made me feel powerless. I didn't know how to love without control, and I destroyed every good thing that ever tried to love me back. You close your eyes. The room feels smaller somehow. The hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, all of it fades until it's just her voice echoing through the paper. The next lines hit you harder than any insult she's ever thrown. I sold the house because I thought I was freeing myself from the past. But you were right. Freedom without truth isn't freedom at all. That house was never mine. It was always a monument to every mistake I refused to face. Now that it's yours, maybe it will finally belong to someone who knows how to build, not destroy. Your throat tightens. You trace the words with your fingertips, almost expecting them to vanish. I don't deserve forgiveness, Nora. But I hope, someday, you'll remember that I did love you even when I didn't know how to show it. Tell Isabella I'm proud of her. She became everything I wasn't brave enough to be. The letter ends without a signature. Just 3 empty lines, like she wanted you to fill in the ending yourself. You sit at the table for a long time, staring at the letter. There's no address, no hint of where she went. Only silence. Isabella finds you an hour later, eyes wide when she sees the paper in your hand. She wrote to you? You nod. She left Portland. For good? You nod again. Isabella sits across from you. Do you think she means it? That she's sorry? You look out the window. The sky is bright, but your chest feels heavy with unspoken things. I think she finally learned that control isn't love, you whisper. But it took losing everything to understand that. A week later, you drive to the house, her house, your house, the place where everything broke and rebuilt. The sun is setting, golden light spilling across the porch. You walk through every room. The living room where she once told you that you'd never succeed. The hallway where you hid your tears. The kitchen where she taught you to cook, before teaching you shame. You stop by the window, the same one Isabella once stared through in the rain, desperate for a sign of mercy. You open it wide. The air rushes in, Warm, alive, forgiving. For the first time, you don't feel anger. You just feel quiet, like the storm has finally passed. That night, you light a candle and place the letter beside it, not as a memorial, but as a marker, the end of a long war between mother and daughter. Isabella joins you, holding 2 cups of tea. Do you think we'll ever see her again? She asks. Maybe, you say. But even if we don't, I think she finally heard us. Oh, you both sit in silence, the candlelight flickering against the walls that no longer hold pain, but peace. Outside, the wind picks up softly, brushing through the trees. It sounds almost like a whisper. You close your eyes. You can almost hear her voice again, softer now, stripped of arrogance, carried gently by the night. I'm proud of you, Nora. You smile faintly, whispering back, and I forgive you. The words float into the quiet, disappearing into the light, not for her, but for yourself. Because revenge was never the ending. It was the doorway. And beyond it, waiting patiently all along, was freedom. It's been 6 months since your mother disappeared. No calls, no letters, no updates. Just silence, the kind that feels less like peace and more like an echo that refuses to fade. At first, you kept expecting something, a knock, a message, a sign, but none came, and so you learned to stop waiting. Now, you walk through your own house, her house, once every morning before work. Sunlight spills through the kitchen window, painting soft gold across the floorboards you had replaced. The walls no longer whisper her words. They breathe yours. Isabella's laughter drifts from the living room, where she's video calling a friend. She's radiant, her eyes bright in ways they never were before. She's free, and yet, sometimes, when the air grows still, you can almost hear your mother's voice again, sharp, but not angry, just tired. You remember the last line of her letter. Tell Isabella I'm proud of her. You'd never thought you'd cry reading her handwriting, but you did. Not because you missed her, but because those words finally sounded human. One Sunday, you drive north, past the city and the bridges, into the quiet countryside where the sky feels wider. You stop at a lake you used to visit as a child, where your mother would spread a blanket, hand you a sandwich, and tell you stories about strong women who never broke. Back then, you thought she was one of them. Now you realize she was just a woman who never healed. You sit on a weathered bench by the water and let the wind tangle your hair. The surface ripples soft, endless, forgiving. For the first time, you whisper her name out loud. Evelyn. Not Mom. Just Evelyn, the flawed, frightened woman behind the myth. And you say it again, and again, until the name loses its sting and becomes only memory. Later that evening, you stop by your house one last time before moving forward. The for rent sign is gone. The tenants are happy. Life has filled the rooms again. You step onto the porch and press your hand to the doorframe. Once, that door was a weapon slammed shut in your face, then in Isabella's. Now, it's just wood and paint and sunlight. You unlock it and step inside. The air is warm, the silence gentle. You walk through the hallway, stopping at the spot where Isabella once stood crying. The memory hits you not as pain, but as clarity. She was never just a victim, and neither were you. In the living room, you kneel and place the letter on the mantelpiece, not as forgiveness, not as tribute, but as truth. Because this house, this life, this peace, none of it would exist without the fire that nearly consumed you both. You whisper to the empty air, "You taught me cruelty. I turned it into strength." The house creaks softly as if it heard and understood. That night, you and Isabella sit on the porch steps under the orange glow of streetlights. She leans her head on your shoulder. Do you ever think about her? You smile faintly. Every day, but not with anger anymore. Do you think she's okay? You look at the sky, a quiet sprawl of stars over the roofline. I think she finally found her own silence, the kind that doesn't hurt anymore. Isabella nods. Then maybe we all did. Oh, you turn to her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You know what's strange? I used to think revenge was the ending, but it wasn't. What was? Freedom, you say simply. The moment you stop fighting ghosts and start living for yourself. When you go back inside, you notice something you hadn't before, the faint scent of lilac lingering in the air. It shouldn't be there, and yet, it is. You close your eyes, inhale, and smile. Not out of grief, out of peace. Because some echoes don't fade to haunt you, they fade to remind you that you survived them. As you turn off the lights, you glance at the letter one last time. The flame of the candle beside it flickers gently, as if saying goodbye. You whisper, "Good night, Mom." And for the first time in your life, the silence that follows doesn't feel heavy. It feels light. A year passes. The world feels different now, not because it changed, but because you did. You wake up to sunlight spilling across white sheets, the city humming softly below. The apartment smells of coffee, and Jasmine Isabella's doing. She moved into her own place months ago, but she visits every Sunday, bringing laughter back into spaces that once held only tension. You still keep your mother's letter in a drawer, not out of sentiment but as proof that people can end cycles, even if it takes a lifetime to do it. Today, you're not the architect who once sat behind blueprints in silence. You're Nora Elise, founder of Haven Designs, a small firm with a big purpose, building homes for single mothers and women starting over. The sign outside your new office reads, "Designed for strength, built for rebirth." You didn't mean for it to sound poetic. It just fit. The first day you opened the firm, you stood in front of your team, 5 women, each carrying their own quiet scars, and told them, "We're not just creating buildings, we're creating beginnings." You remember the way their eyes lit up, as if someone had finally said what they'd always wanted to hear. And in that moment, you realized, this wasn't revenge anymore. This was redemption. One afternoon, you're reviewing sketches for a new shelter renovation when your assistant knocks softly. "Someone's here to see you." You glance up. "A client?" She didn't give her name. She just said, "She used to know you." Your heart skips a reflex more than a reaction. You already know who it is before you see her. You walk out into the lobby, and there she stands, Dorothy Callahan, your mother's old neighbor. Her hair is grayer now, her hands trembling slightly as she clutches a worn leather bag. "Nora," she says gently, "I thought you should know. Evelyn passed away last month." The words fall like a stone into still water, no splash, just ripples of silence spreading through you. You blink once. "How?" "She moved to Arizona last year," Dorothy says softly. "Heart failure. Peaceful, they said. She left a note for you." Dorothy hands you a small envelope, not white this time, but pale blue, the edges softened with time. Your hands shake slightly as you open it. Inside, there's only one sentence written in her careful, looping script. "I couldn't fix what I broke, but I'm grateful you did." You read it twice, then a third time. And for the first time, there are no tears, only a warmth that spreads quietly, like light after storm clouds. That evening, you walk to the old house one more time. The tenants, a young couple with a baby, wave from the porch. You smile back, your chest full but calm. You stand at the sidewalk, watching them laugh through the window. That house has new laughter now, new stories. It's no longer a monument to pain. It's a sanctuary. And you realize maybe that was always the real revenge, turning the place where cruelty lived into a home where love grows. The next morning, you meet Isabella for breakfast. She's glowing, newly promoted, confident, free. As you sip coffee, she reaches across the table. "Mom, you seem lighter." You smile. "Maybe because I finally learned that justice doesn't always mean punishment. Sometimes it means peace." She tilts her head. "Do you regret what you did?" You think for a moment. "No, I regret how long it took to stop needing revenge." Isabella nods, eyes glistening. "You taught me that strength doesn't have to scream." You laugh softly. "And you taught me that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting." Later that week, you walk alone through one of the shelters, your firm rebuilt bright rooms, open windows, sunlight everywhere. You pause in front of a mural painted by one of the residents, a woman standing in the rain, holding a key, behind her a house glowing in gold. Underneath it, someone wrote, "You can't change the past, but you can build something stronger from its ruins." You smile, tracing the paint with your fingertips. It feels like closure, the kind that doesn't demand applause, only understanding. You step outside, the wind warm on your skin. Somewhere far away, thunder rolls distant, harmless. And for the first time in forever, you don't brace for the storm. You walk straight through the breeze, unafraid, because you've learned that silence isn't emptiness, it's peace. And peace isn't weakness, it's power. That night, you light a single candle by the window, the same kind you once placed beside your mother's letter. Its flame dances gently, reflected in the glass like a heartbeat. You whisper, "We're free now." Oh. Then you close the window, turn off the lights, and let the darkness settle softly, no longer as something to fear, but as something that proves you've finally come home. 2 years later, you stand before a building that didn't exist when you started healing a place that feels like a dream you built from the ashes of everything that once hurt you. The sign above the entrance gleams in soft gold under the morning sun. Haven House, founded by Nora Elise. The words look simple, but you know what they cost: every tear, every silence, every storm. Inside, sunlight floods through tall glass windows, landing on fresh flowers and photographs of women who rebuilt their lives here. Single mothers, survivors of emotional abuse, daughters who learned to live again after being told they weren't enough. Each of them carries a piece of your story, and yet, every one of them rewrote the ending. You walk down the hallway slowly, heels clicking against polished floors, the hum of voices and laughter echoing softly. A young woman named Maya greets you near the reception desk, her smile bright, her eyes still healing. "Miss Elise," she says, "the new residents are here. They wanted to meet you." You nod and follow her into the main common room. 10 women sit in a circle, nervous, quiet, carrying invisible bruises in their voices. You see yourself in every one of them. You take a seat, not in front of them, but with them. "Welcome," you begin. "I know you're scared. I know what it feels like to think the world doesn't care if you disappear. I've been there. I was once told I didn't deserve a home, didn't deserve love, didn't deserve peace." Their eyes lift toward you. "But I learned something," you continue, voice steady but full of warmth. "You don't have to fight forever. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't striking back. It's standing back up and living a life so full, so kind, that your pain no longer defines you." Silence fills the room, not empty, but heavy with emotion. One woman, barely in her 20s, wipes her eyes. "How did you forgive them?" You smile gently. "By realizing forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. It's what lets you walk out of the rain without looking back." After the meeting, you step outside for air. The sky is bright and open, the kind of blue you used to think didn't exist in your world. You close your eyes and inhale the scent of lilacs from the courtyard garden. You planted those yourself because even after everything, you still wanted beauty to grow where pain once lived. Isabella joins you on the steps, holding 2 cups of coffee. She's older now, stronger, the same fire in her eyes, but calmer, steadier. "I saw the photos you hung in the hallway," she says. "That one of Grandma when she was young. You kept it." You nod slowly. "She's part of the story. Erasing her doesn't heal it." Isabella takes a deep breath. "You know, sometimes I wonder what she'd think if she saw this place." You smile faintly. "I think she'd finally understand what love looks like when it's not chained to control." You both sit there in silence for a while, sipping coffee, watching the breeze move through the flowers. Later that evening, you give a small speech at Haven House's first anniversary celebration. The room glows with candles and soft laughter. Reporters, volunteers, and former residents gather, some with babies, some with new jobs, some simply smiling because they survived. You stand at the podium and begin. "A few years ago, I thought revenge meant making someone pay. But the truth is, the best revenge is rebuilding, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. We can't undo the past, but we can choose how it ends. And sometimes, that choice begins with just one act of defiance, saying, 'I deserve peace.'" Applause fills the room, not thunderous, but heartfelt, the kind that vibrates through the walls and settles into your bones. Afterward, you walk alone into the courtyard, where fairy lights hang above the lilacs. You tilt your head back and look at the stars, the same ones that watched over every version of you. The daughter who begged to be seen, the mother who fought through storms, the woman who learned to stand tall in silence. And somewhere in that vast sky, you feel her presence, faint but peaceful. Not watching, not judging, just letting go. You whisper softly, "I did it, Mom. I turned the rain into light." A breeze brushes your cheek, gentle, warm, almost like a blessing. You smile through tears, whispering one last time, "The story ends here, but the healing never does." You turn back toward the building where laughter rises, where life continues, where women are rebuilding. The door closes softly behind you, and the sign Haven House gleams again in gold. The cycle is broken. The legacy begins,